Speaking to John Lyons, the Managing Director of Aspas Real Estate this morning. John, thanks for staying with us.
Thank you for having me.
Before we dive into one of the points you made about our thoughts about what counts as close and what doesn't count as close, we've had a couple of questions in asking about prices, what you're seeing in terms of price per square foot. You mentioned the volume of properties being sold. You mentioned sellers having to go on a journey when it comes to what their property is worth. What are you seeing in terms of what things are going for per square foot?
Yeah, so across the board for the properties that we're transacting on, price per square foot is still moving higher, and we still see that we're setting new price levels across many different communities. There was a report out recently from Property Monitor that showed that in their index, their price index, there's a slight month-on-month, or I think it's a slight step down in terms of the price, but I think you're talking 0.58%. And for me, that's just within a sort of too short a period of time, and it's a sort of standard deviation range. If you look at the bigger picture graph for price appreciation over this last part of the cycle, last 4 or 5 years, you see several moments along the way where the price can momentarily come down on that index. So where people might have seen that and think, oh, but that shows that price is down. Someone actually sent that to me knowing that I own a few properties in Dubai and said, time to sell. It was a bit of a joke, but I replied pointing to the graph saying, lucky I didn't sell here, here, and here, because you can see that all the way along the upward trajectory. So for us, we see prices continuing to set new levels. That doesn't mean to say that it's going up at a rapid rate, probably at a lower rate than it was previously. So I think there is more stability on price, definitely. But price per square foot still look very affordable in a lot of communities. And even in the top luxury communities, I still think that they are still very reasonable on a global context. We sold a property yesterday on Palm Jumeirah, a villa for close to 35 million, 5,000 square foot property, 6,600 dirhams per square foot. That really doesn't look overpriced when I look at what the price per square foot would be for something comparable in London, New York, Singapore, Hong Kong, Monaco. And it's not just me saying that. The people that are buying these properties, they're doing that due diligence themselves, and they have the comfort that it still doesn't look overpriced for them, and they're buying these properties.
Well, let's have a look at one of the launches that we were at, the Wilds, Al Dar. Sold out for the phase that they had on the market there. And it got us thinking about what counts as being in town and out of town at the moment, and how our mental map is changing. What for you now counts as being in town and out of town? Is it shifting?
So it's interesting when you ask that question, because I've been here for 13 years. So my own view of what in town and out of town looks like, I understand myself when I truly think about it, that it's not real. Just because I happen to start out in the Dubai Marina, JBR area, and now because I live in the Emirates Living area, and our office is in Marina Plaza in Marina, that for me, that's my area. That's where I'm familiar with, and it's sort of close to the coastline. So for me, that's in town. But I've got lots of friends and people that I know and clients that we've dealt with who really don't think that that area is in town. They think that Town Square is in town because that's where they live. They spend their whole time living there. And I think it's very interesting to see that Dubai is definitely changing. The central point of the city is not just one central point. There's multiple central points now, and depends who you ask. People that have arrived here in the last couple of years, they think that the centre of Dubai is a very different place to where I think.
You mentioned, though, spending all their time there. The traffic's also very different from when you arrived. Do we need, and the Wilds is very amenities-tastic, do we need more from the communities that we live in because of that?
Definitely. I think we do need more from the communities, and I think that's the new communities that are coming is exactly what Dubai wants and needs. And I think that when we talk about the development of residential property, new communities, I think we should start really describing it as the creation of new towns. These are villages and towns that are being created all over Dubai. And I think that you'll definitely see people living in those towns, living in those villages in the future, where the school is in that town, the hospitals, the hotels, their golf club, everything will be there. And that is already continuing to happen in the communities that already exist. Like I mentioned, Dubai British School is opening up in Mira, so the Al Qudra corridor will now be served by that great amenity. But the new places like the Wilds, it's exactly what the market needs, and it's going to change the way that people live in Dubai over the years to come.
Right, there you go. Well, we shall continue the property discussion a little bit later on. Looking north to Ras Al Khaimah, Tom's got a new report that he's going to be digging into. John Lyons, Managing Director of Asperis Real Estate, thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you for having me.